as a psychic medium, that's something that's so mysterious to me, and I would love to learn a little bit more about it.
It's quite a controversial and misunderstood profession and practice.
And just because I don't understand something or I can't see something doesn't mean it's not real. I can't see Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
It's working on my phone.
Our spirits are essentially born with us, right? Like what happens after we die? Like
That person showed himself like all like shadow, light slowly filling his being. And he was saying that that's what he was doing right now, was processing his trauma and grief.
welcome to XTRAordinary.
Hello, thank you for having me.
The most extraordinary podcast in the world.
Right.
We have Per joining us today.
Yes.
Thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
I'm specifically excited to have you here
Oh, great.
because as a psychic medium, that's something that's so mysterious to me, and I would love to learn a little bit more about it.
Yeah. Well, I have to start by saying first, I understand that this is quite a controversial and misunderstood profession and practice.
Sure.
And there are a lot of people out there who take advantage of that and will scam very vulnerable people.
Okay.
So I think part of my mission and the colleagues that I work with is to dissipate that and to kind of explain the honest practices around this.
Cool.
So I like the word intuitive medium versus psychic medium.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I think part of it is because when people hear the word psychic, they think crystal ball with a turban.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but usually those crystal ball corner stores are the ones that you find people getting scammed.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even know what a medium was
Yeah.
before we had before this.
Yeah.
Like I
Well, that's a good opportunity to learn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we should start there because
Yeah.
this is like honestly one of the most extraordinary things.
Yeah.
Like
Very extraordinary, for sure.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you saying that because you're calling out your own industry. So when people say something's a scam, it's because it actually is a scam from some people in there,
Yeah.
and they're bringing a bad stigma
It's
to it.
just like any other industry where, some investors are scammers.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
And so, yes. So, sorry, where was I going with
We were
this?
talking about
Just
what a medium
explaining
was.
what a medium was.
Yeah.
So first of all, you kind of have, maybe not believe, but just think of this idea that our consciousness or our spirit exists beyond our physical body. And if you don't believe that, just pretend for a minute. A medium's job is to act as a vessel or a channel to kind of receive messages and tune in to those discarnate souls. And think of it like we're all, well, scientifically speaking, we do all give off energy, electricity, what have you. Our brain waves give off energy, electricity. So it's the idea that we can also receive as well as radiate. And I like to think of ourselves as just like little Wi-Fi, like modems.
Yeah.
And some people are just sensitive enough to receive things that others may not notice. And so a medium's job is to connect to someone's soul on the other side. And anyone can sit here and say, I'm channeling your grandmother, right? But an evidential medium, which is what I practice and a lot of my colleagues practice as well, is we have to give you information that you and only you would understand. And nothing that you can Google or like find on your social media. Like for example, let me give a good example. This is a really random one, but this happened recently. So I was speaking to a man who wanted to connect with his grandfather. And his grandfather showed me that he was peeling apples. And that's so random, right? Like, why? I was like, your grandfather's talking about peeling apples, and I know that he would have been really good and proficient at peeling apples. And the client was saying, that is so strange because I was literally peeling an apple this morning and thinking of my grandfather because our family tells stories of how fast he was at peeling. And that's random and small and maybe not important to someone who doesn't know the story or know the history. But for him, it was like, that's
Deeply
my grandfather.
important.
Yeah.
100%. No, I know it's definitely real, and I also live my life with an open mind. you know?
Yeah.
And just because I don't understand something or I can't see something doesn't mean it's not real. I can't see Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
It's working on my phone. Just because I can't see it doesn't mean it's real. So
Yeah.
I'd like to live with an open mind. And specifically, I think people can learn things that they don't know. And some people are more inclined to pick things up quicker or better or faster than other people, just like a piano. You know, some people
Yeah.
sit down at a piano, never had a lesson before, but they can pick it up really quickly. And honestly, they can make some really awesome stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe people can learn, you know, how to become a medium and channel certain things that other people just don't know or understand.
Absolutely, because I believe we're all souls, and to connect with other souls, you just have to have a soul. And it's just like shooting a basketball. Like I could try and shoot it, but I'll probably be really bad.
So you
But if I
practice.
practiced,
Yeah.
I might be just okay, you know?
Yeah.
But if you keep practicing, you'll get really good.
And some people have a natural talent.
Exactly.
I think like, I have so many questions.
Yeah.
I think like two of the biggest questions that humanity faces, one is, where are they? Have you ever heard of the Fermi paradox? Which is like, where are the aliens?
Oh, no, but I'll look it up.
And it's like, you know, we are the only kind of like living conscious that we know about in the
Right.
universe, but like the universe is so massive that there has to be other life out there. And it's like, you know, where are they? Right. And then the second question is, what happens after you die?
Yeah.
And honestly, before today, I didn't even know what a medium was.
Right.
And that there were people that could theoretically connect with people that have passed away or the other side. How did you figure out that you have this like obviously very rare kind of ability to do so?
So it was all quite accidental. I have always been into kind of the supernatural, kind of occult, like that just really drew me for some reason. I think part of it is because I grew up in the closet queer, and something about that world just felt so accepting, and like there's just something bigger out there outside of me that I want to connect to. But I never thought in my life that I would practice this. Like I wasn't, you know, the sixth sense, like a child growing up and being like, your father is behind you. You know what I mean? But in my early 30s, I was working in fashion, like as an apparel designer for like the North Face, for Ralph Lauren, like a bunch of big companies. And I enjoyed it enough, and it was, you know, paid well enough, et cetera, et cetera. But there was a point where I got quite burnt out, and it just started to feel quite soulless to me. And so I quit and like went on like a kayaking adventure with my two friends in like the deserts or the rivers of like the Grand Canyon in Arizona and Las Vegas. And then after that, I got really sick. And you might laugh because this is not that serious when I talk about it, but it was when I had it. I got adult chicken pox.
Oh, damn.
I never knew that I didn't have it as a child. And I had to quarantine in my home for like 3 or 4 weeks, like before quarantine was a thing.
Is that dangerous? Like, is that potentially deadly?
It is
fatal?
potentially deadly, and it was miserable, and it's also like a viral disease that really affects your mindset and your emotional stability. I was feeling quite low. And I think something happens when you know, I have chicken pox, I'm unemployed, I'm in New York, and in a small apartment that's dark with a bar below me that's
For 3
loud,
weeks by yourself.
loud till 4 a.m.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is like a personal kind of hell for me.
Like rock bottom?
Yeah, there's something happens when people hit rock bottom. Sometimes they have an awakening, and you know, they do something that they've always been passionate about, whether it's music or entrepreneurship or whatever. Mine happened to be like spirituality and mediumship. I was dating someone at that time whose mother had passed from cancer years before I met him, and I was talking on the phone with him, and this is while I was sick, and I just heard a whisper in my ear. I said, "Ask about my cat Bailey." And I thought my roommate was speaking to me, and I was like, "Did you say something?" And he's like, "No." And so I asked my boyfriend at that time, "Did your mother have a cat named Bailey, or did you know a cat named Bailey?" And he was like, "That was my mother's cat. How in the world did you know that name? And then she started speaking more information into my ear and saying, tell him I missed the hot chocolate I would order from him. And he said he used to work at Starbucks and she didn't drink coffee. And the only thing she would order for him was hot chocolate. And then she just started giving me more information about her life with him and where he would take him as a child.
How long was she, like, that during this one phone call?
Yeah.
She's talking to you this whole time?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it felt, I can't quite describe it. It's not like a voice as like, I'm speaking to you and you're speaking to me.
You just know it.
But it was like an inner whisper in my ear, but it sounded like a woman's voice.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It's like when you're playing a song in your ear and you hear,
Cool.
Madonna singing.
Right.
Not that you listen to Madonna, but I'm just saying.
But like very clear cut, like,
Yeah.
like words talking
Exactly.
to you.
Yeah, I thought I was like having a bout with schizophrenia or something.
Right.
Um,
That has, like, especially the first time you're like,
Yeah.
what's going on?
yeah.
It's got to take some courage to ask other people about the voices in your head.
Yeah.
Like,
The good-
yo, what about Bailey?
The good thing is that
no,
this-
I didn't say anything.
This particular person, I was very comfortable with. So
Okay.
I knew that they wouldn't ridicule me.
Right.
But obviously, if it was a stranger on the street, I would not say anything.
Yeah.
You know? And I didn't really do anything with it after that. It's not like I was like, this is my calling, watch out world, I'm the next big
Yeah.
medium, whatever. It was like a year or two of just continuing to ask questions about it and like seeking out, are there books, are there podcasts, are there meditation circles, teachers that I can go to? And yes, there were all of those and more.
But like, so the first time that it happened, and you're essentially relaying what his passed away mother was saying to you to him,
Mm-hmm.
did you recognize like that you were talking to this passed away woman, and then you're like, I need to figure out what did you know what a medium was before that?
Yes, because I was saying I was always open to the supernatural and the other, and I actually have gone to like intuitives and mediums myself before that situation happened.
Okay.
So I think because of my openness to it, that spirit felt comfortable channeling through me.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And how many mediums are there in the world? They're like how common / rare?
I feel
Is
like in New
this?
York, there's at least like hundreds.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Pretty incredible.
I don't know if this is a good segue, but I'm actually a subject of a documentary
Oh, cool.
that's coming out in September, and it premiered at Sundance this past year,
Nice.
and it's about exactly this, like mediumship and
Mediums among us.
mediums among us, and
Is
it's
that the
more
name?
so.
Oh.
That's a good name though.
Yo, you know your boy.
Mediums among us. I mean,
I'm a namer. I come up with
That's a
names.
good
It's
name.
called Look Into My Eyes, and it's the premise of it. It's not so much trying to prove that what we do is real. It's more about no matter what you believe, the connections that happen between the medium and the sitter, and the healing and the emotional
Sorry, what's
resonance.
the sitter? The person
The client,
who the person
yeah.
is connecting with
Yeah.
you to get to.
the
Okay.
connection that we have, and the healing that emanates from the session is undeniable, whether you believe in what we do or not. Because the director of the documentary, she's quite prominent in the documentary world. She's done a bunch of documentaries about like abortion rights and late-term abortion rights and suicide prevention, and more mainstream documentaries. Like she did the one about Brooke Shields recently, and the Taylor Swift documentary, Miss Americana.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was her passion project, and she's really good at creating intimate moments of empathy. And so that's what this documentary is about,
Cool.
mostly.
Cool.
So like going back.
I'm just curious
Mm-hmm.
as to, it seems like a lot of, the information that mediums get are like proving one that like this is real.
Yeah.
You had chocolate last Tuesday. There's no way I would have known that. Or this is your
Yeah.
favorite thing.
Yeah.
Has there been any information that you've gotten that has been an answer that someone didn't know that they're looking forward
Yes.
to maybe closure or like some future lotto numbers? Like what can we like what's some information that like, you know, has been really helpful to some people, or what's the most kind of common things that you
So this is a good question, because a lot of skeptics will say, like, why can't you just give, you know, their name and social security address and whatever information that, you know, like that would prove that they're actually there. And the truth is, I don't know. Like, I'm not there demanding.
It's not like
questions.
You control what the person says to you.
And names do come through, but it's unusual that that's what they start with. And just like every person on this earth is different, every spirit is different. So some will come through with how they passed first. Some will come through with a key memory of childhood. But one of the most profound readings I've had was with a client who, again, was connecting to her grandfather. And her grandfather was telling me that he wasn't the most faithful man to her grandmother. And he told me that there would be this secret child of his that will come forward in the next year. That would be an extended family member that no one knew about. And then, sure enough, she calls me 6 months later and said that someone is claiming to be my mom's half-sister. Wow. Because they share the same father, and they did a DNA test, and that was all proven to be true.
That is profound.
That's pretty profound.
I mean, and even if I'm just like, you can't make that up.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Of course.
So when you go into these sessions, though, there's no like specific, say, purpose or like something they're trying, like something specific they're trying to find out. You're just trying to help them, like.
It depends on the person.
Okay. Like she wasn't trying to find that out specifically, right?
No.
That's what the spirits spoke to you.
Yeah,
wanted to say. Off his chest.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like. So when so I guess what I'm trying to ask is that when people come to you, your clients, what are they typically looking? What does a typical client looking for? So, like, why does somebody hire a medium?
It really depends. So sometimes clients will want to specifically connect to someone they've lost. Other clients don't want any of that at all and just want more guidance on their love life, career, health, personal development, etc. But usually 90% of the time, all of that coincides together. So even if I have a woman who's asking about wanting to leave her husband, her sister may come through and be one of the people that offer guidance around that as well.
Mm-hmm. Like guidance from people that they used to get guidance from that can help them make decisions about challenges.
Not necessarily, because sometimes it could even be a grandfather that they've never even met, but that spirit is still around them and wants to help guide them because of that family connection. So no, they don't have to have had an important connection in their waking life for that spirit to be a guiding force in their life now.
It's also just cool. If you could talk to someone on the other side, it's like, yo, just say hi. if it's really someone over that, pretty awesome.
What people don't understand sometimes is that I do believe that we are getting guidance from our spirit team all the time. It just usually sounds like our own voice, and it's usually just our own intuition.
It's your intuition, yeah.
And they speak to us through our dreams and our random ideas. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, one good example is, like, years ago, I was just, washing the dishes, and a thought popped into my head of, like, call your friend. And it wasn't, like, because of this or because of that. It was just call. So I call my friend. And then we have a conversation, and then she connects me to a friend of hers that's been looking to connect with a medium. But then I connect to that friend of hers, and then we start talking, and then we actually build a relationship that's more business intuition minded. So it's guiding her on her business practices and her asking me questions about things that are not so spiritual. It's more like, will I win this lawsuit? And should I go forward with this lawsuit?
Maybe she was looking for like the answers from a spirit or something.
Yeah. And then that helped me branch out into like possibly working with more businesses. So it's like following our own intuition is interesting because I'm sure you're both in worlds where you have to make very important decisions quite fast, I'm sure. And sometimes you don't have all the information in front of you to make those decisions. So maybe sometimes you rely on your gut or what your heart tells you, and that feeling of like, if it's a wrong decision, maybe you feel queasy. I don't know. Have you guys ever had these moments where like you make a decision, but you felt queasy about it and it turns out to be the wrong decision, maybe?
Of course.
Yeah.
It's that energy. That
Usually has to do with tequila shots for me. Bad decision. Should not have done that.
Not always the best decision.
Yeah.
So
What's the process like, if you don't mind? I'll say it's like when you're channeling. Let's say I'm a client. You know, or we're working for the first time. We're sitting down. How do you approach trying to tap in to a spirit?
Yeah. So most of my clients are on Zoom because I live in London, but most of my clients are like from California and New York. And so before a call happens, I will usually meditate for 10 minutes and start writing down just things I receive. And then once they jump on the Zoom, I just say, so my name is Per, this is your mediumship session. And usually how I work is I just talk for the first 10 or 15 minutes and relay messages, and then we'll have time for all of your important questions afterwards.
Cool.
And so I just really just like let it flow and see what happens.
So is it usually a one, like, that's a first time encounter, but
Yeah.
do you have repeat clients?
I do.
Or is
Yeah.
that typical?
It is typical to have repeat clients. What I try to do with repeat clients is create a boundary of, it's not good to see me every week or even like every month.
Like a therapy.
Yeah, because I'm not a therapist. I'm not here to like process with you.
Right.
I'm more here to just deliver messages, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Okay.
And sometimes,
People can get addicted to it.
yeah, usually what's bad is if they become too dependent on the intuitive or the medium and they need them for every single decision they make in their life.
Right.
That's how I know you're a good dude, because like some people just give me
So-
your money.
Yeah.
So-
Call me back on that subscription.
So do you deliver messages every person that you talk to, or are there times that like you can't connect with?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I have my off days.
Yeah.
And when that happens, I just stop the session.
Right.
I'm so sorry. My energy is off today. I can reschedule for you or give you a refund.
Yeah.
Interesting. I was actually going to ask you that. Like, is it draining for you to constantly be doing this, for your energy to be tapping into something like that? It's just what your daily looks like?
Yeah. Every intuitive is different. I found that my threshold is like I can't do more than 2 or 3 sessions a day.
And like, I mean, that's so interesting. I think, like, you mentioned earlier one client, you were speaking to his dad about peeling apples.
Right.
Did that have any significant like, other than peeling apples, but like, did that help him heal
Yeah.
something or recover from something, or is it sometimes
what's
just like a random
funny? So
type thing?
most of my clients are like women or queer people, right? I'm not saying that straight men aren't spiritual, but for some reason they're just not as open to it. I find, but that particular client is a straight man who works in finance at an investment firm, and he's never been to an intuitive session before. His like girlfriend bought him the session, and that's always like touch and go. It could be really bad or really good.
How much does a session cost?
$280 an
Yeah.
hour, and
And you do
it's
2.
never more than an hour because then I
You
just
only
get
do
tired.
1 hour.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes
the
it
girl
runs off.
2 hours. The girl that was choked called you back and said,
She just emailed me.
"Oh, I remember now." Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah. So he's never had a session before. He wanted really only to talk about his work because he was having a difficult time with his colleagues. But of course, spirit runs the sessions usually, or I let that happen when it does happen. And his father came through. I forgot if it was his father or grandfather, but anyway, that man came through and talked about all of the stuff with his childhood and then the peeling, and then he just started crying because I think because maybe he hasn't thought about it for a while, or like didn't really understand that there could be the possibility of this important man to him existing in a
Still out
different
there.
plane,
Yeah.
still watching over him.
Mm-hmm.
And this man was also telling him that he was supporting his decision or ideas of reconnecting with his religion and heritage. And that was something that he was thinking about literally that week.
Wow.
And so it just kind of proved to him that there, was someone on his side watching over his well-being, and this man that was so important to his life hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's wild. Like, I've seen some wilds. Again,
What's the wildest thing you've ever seen?
I am never in a position where I want to defend this and make someone believe that this is real.
Right.
If people don't believe this is real, that's fine. Like, one of my best friends, Josh, doesn't believe in this at all, and is just like, he's a mathematician, and he's just like, this is all fake, and we give each other a hard time about it, and it's fine,
You tell him that math is fake? Like, brother.
Yeah, I'm like, calculus was a waste of my time. But one of the so that story of like the secret child coming forward was one of the wildest things. But
Cool.
Another super wild thing. Oh, so I was sitting at a rehearsal dinner like years ago. And it was one of those rehearsal dinners where the bride and groom sat people who didn't know each other next to each other. And I sat next to this woman, and I just felt like a female coming forward for her. And I was like, is there like someone who passed cancer in your life? And she feels like a mother to me. And so, and I said, I always say if something happens kind of sporadically, I have to ask, are you open to receiving messages? And she was. And her mother was giving me all this information about her mother's life, but then at the end of it, her mother was saying, I said, there's a man with a B initial in your life that feels romantic and it feels new. And she was like, yeah. She was like, yes, I've just been dating this guy named Billy, and it's quite new, but I really like him. And then her mother showed them in their French Riviera, and Billy was getting down on one knee proposing with a ring. And she was like, I mean, we just started dating. I have no idea, but like, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
And then again, 6 months later, she messages me and says, I just got engaged. We were in the French Riviera.
Wow.
And
I got chills. That's good.
So the next like big kind of thing that I want to ask you about is, you mentioned that your friend Josh doesn't believe in this, right?
Yeah.
But the question is, and I want your thoughts obviously on this, that what happens after we die? Like, our spirits are essentially born with us, right? Like, they didn't exist when a seed hits an embryo, or right? And then we're born, and then when our physical body passes, like, there's a consciousness in us, right? Like, we're all thinking, and like, what happens to that after the physical body passes away?
So it's all theory, right? I don't know for sure. I just know what I've been shown, and what I've been shown is
nobody knows for sure.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
you
until we
know
get there.
more than most.
Maybe, but because this is a heavy question that like involves like religious beliefs as well and all of those things. So I do tread lightly, but most religions do believe in a life after death, and I do as well, obviously. But what I've been shown is that there is a healing process that happens, a kind of like life review. This happens especially with spirits who've taken their own life. I've seen them. It's everything that they show me is quite symbolic or metaphorical. And so I had a client one time whose partner had passed from a self-inflicted gun wound. And that person showed himself like all like shadow, and then like light slowly filling his being. And he was saying that that's what he was doing right now was processing his trauma and grief and trying to heal himself on the other side. I don't know where we go. I couldn't call it heaven, hell. You know, I can't attach a religious place to it, or a place that
I've got a buddy that died before.
Yeah.
I want to remove religion from it.
Okay.
It's more
Yeah.
about spirituality,
Yeah.
I think.
I couldn't tell you exactly what that place is. For me, it feels just more like not a place, just more of like a frequency and an energetic vibration. Just like how on Earth we can't see every spectrum of the light spectrum.
Right.
I feel like they just exist in a place that's like vibrating much higher than we are, and we're solid matter, so we just vibrate at a lower frequency.
I mean, if we are energy, which we are,
Yeah.
right, and energy can't be created or destroyed, then we've been here forever.
Yeah.
And when we're gone in our physical body, we're still here, just in a
still
different
here.
form.
Exactly.
That's it. Like, you know.
Yeah.
I've got a buddy that actually died before and came back, which is incredible.
What do you mean before
Yeah.
you came back?
He died and then came back to life.
Oh,
Like was
he had, like-
shocked
okay.
back, or like what do you mean?
I don't have all the details, but he was in a car accident, pronounced dead, and he said the feeling was similar to, imagine if, it was euphoric actually, imagine if you have to pee so bad. Like, you know, everybody's had to pee, like you're holding it in and it's terrible. And then you finally get to like have the best pee of your life. And you're just, it's a full release. And
Yeah.
like this, I don't know, he described it as a white euphoria, just relief.
Yeah.
And then it just, he said that there was something up there and it said it wasn't his time. And then he just came back into his body.
Yeah. And
Incredible.
I think that's so powerful. And a lot of people who've had these near-death experiences do describe a similar kind of scenario. So they all share this experience that I wholeheartedly believe in. And when I'm meditating and I connect to spirit, I myself feel like high, like lifted. You know, like when you feel naturally high after maybe you've run, or maybe when you feel high from weed, whatever.
Cold plunge.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like that's us raising our frequencies, so then we can meet spirit like in the middle. And because they have to lower theirs, I feel.
They have to lower theirs a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what it's like as a spirit. Like how do they find you as a medium, as a source? Like, oh, there's one over there. And then, let me jump in and talk to my boy.
It's
like,
crazy because they're clearly all watching over us.
around, yeah, omnipresent.
clearly.
Like, how does that? I wonder. It's so interesting.
Yeah. And some people are like freaked out if the idea of them watching is like, do they watch me when I'm like hooking up with someone? Like, I don't know.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
for
yes.
sure. For sure.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the way that people know the difference in right and wrong.
I remember the moment that I fully believed in the spirit world and mediums. I've always lived my life with a pretty open attitude, you know,
Yeah.
just because I don't understand something doesn't mean it's not real, right? But my cousin actually has a rough talent for that.
Oh,
You know,
cool.
she'll get downloads as well.
Yeah.
And being a family member, I'm like, you're not selling me a subscription, you know?
Yeah.
You're not trying to convince me. You're just telling me something that literally happened to you without trying to sell me anything.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden that guard was down, you know?
Are your cousins a medium?
It has the talent for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
So 2 questions about that. But first, I'll tell you the story. So my cousin on my dad's side, she's got some sort of talent like that. People come to her, spirits will come to her, talk to her, and it's been proven with other people in her life. But specifically, she told my mom shortly after her grandmother passed away. And on my mom's side, it's completely different. My great-grandmother, she only speaks Spanish. And then my cousin doesn't speak Spanish. And somehow she was channeling, you know, this knowledge that only my great-grandmother on my mom's side knows, and cracking jokes that only her and my grandmother know, and to my mom, and my mom started crying just because it's obvious at a certain point when you have so much black and white proof of someone that was super special in your life. It's like, I'm okay, I'm with your dogs right now. And my dogs passed away on my mom's side too. So it's like super guard was down because it's just family talking to family here. And completely validated. So that was the moment where I'm like, okay, maybe there's something to this medium thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. I don't read a lot for friends and family because my personal bias and history with them will override my intuition because the mind is louder unfortunately, than the intuition.
Mm-hmm.
But once in a blue moon, something will happen where I am downloading specifically for them. But it's never intentional. It's just like, oh, like, you have a grandmother here, and she's giving me the name Angelica, and she's like, that's my grandmother. And so, yeah, it's like you wouldn't want to be a therapist for your sister or brother,
Right,
you know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
There's a
like kind of the
conflict
same
there.
deal.
There's a conflict.
Yeah.
Slightly.
But that's really wonderful that your cousin
That's-
is open enough to channel.
She definitely has that a talent as
yeah.
well, but it's not sharpened. And then that was my next question I was going to ask you. It's like, okay, you want to become a DJ? There's DJ academies,
Yeah.
you know, or you can YouTube how to be a piano
Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
and then work and practice. Where can people go? Maybe they're out
Oh, there
and
are
it's
schools.
Like, yo,
There are
I've got
schools.
a talent.
Yeah.
I know that this is. Are they going to Hogwarts? Like,
There
how
are
do you,
yes, there's
how
like
do
a
you get out
Hogwarts
there?
of mediumship. That's exactly what I call it.
Cool.
So
There we go.
can I shout out some schools?
Yeah,
shout them out.
Okay. So there's the Journey Within Church, which is based in New Jersey, I think, but a lot of their classes are online, and they have wonderful teachers. And then there's also the College of Psychic Studies in London, and then Arthur Finlay College is in London, and that's where a lot of like the renowned mediums
Did you
have
go
studied
anywhere?
and teach.
Did you go
All
anywhere?
of these places.
You went to all
Oh,
of them?
Yeah.
let's go.
Yeah, but most of them are just actually that's a lie. I didn't go to College of Psychic Studies, but I've been to Journey Within and
Oh,
Arthur Finlay.
cool.
How long are classes? Is this like an executive program?
No,
or like a
they're
couple-
usually just like a
semester?
few, a few weeks long. Some are a
Okay.
few days long.
Cool.
Some are like every Saturday for a month, and they're all online,
Okay.
which is great. So it's quite international. But yeah, if you search, you will find teachers, and some teach outside of these schools. And so there are curriculums for this and training for this.
What does it cost to go to one of these schools?
Just depends, but like, for example, I did like maybe a 4 or 5 week program, but just one day a week, and that was like a 3-hour class, and maybe it was like $280.
Oh,
It's
that's a good deal.
It's not crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good return on investment if you're actually talented. 300 class.
Are you friends with other mediums?
Yeah.
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 And is there like, are some mediums better than others? Like,
I think some mediums just work differently than others, and some mediums connect with maybe a different set of people better than others. I wouldn't say better. I don't like to compare our work. I have a friend that's a medium I became friends with because we're in the same documentary together, the one that I spoke about earlier. And she works specifically with pets.
okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, I have
twist,
another
yeah.
medium friend, intuitive friend, who does more like life coaching. And so she works with her clients in that way. So there's different specialties.
Okay.
And again, I keep going back to this because it feels resonant to me to go back to this, but it's like working with a therapist. It's not that one is necessarily better than the other, but
Right.
you just might vibe with
Which one
better
works
than
for
the
each
other.
person, yeah.
But, I wouldn't compare it necessarily to something that has like statistical relevance, like maybe like a basketball player. Like I know this basketball players, but like the stats show that.
Yeah.
Maybe like a chef where like somebody's cooking,
Right.
Yeah.
you know,
It's a
like,
little bit more subjective, right?
Yeah.
but like you talked earlier about scamming, like
Is there a
are-
certain
yeah, like,
level of
accreditation,
accreditation almost?
Right,
Like,
right.
can you get
Yeah.
that Michelin star?
to know that the medium you're talking to is like,
If there was someone that was looking for a reputable medium, I would tell someone to first email the medium before setting up a session, and ask them if they work evidentially.
what does that mean?
So evidentially, again, just
If they
means
can't prove it, then they don't
Yeah.
get paid.
Yeah. So
That's what
it's one of those things again where it's like, oh, you're
Like some of these examples that you've given us.
like
Okay.
your
Peeling apples.
father is giving me the name Paul, and I feel like that's connected to a brother or a family member. She's like, yes, that's his brother. And
That would
Paul
be evidential.
also has a child that's in spirit,
Okay.
So they have to give you information that you can prove and validate now. Some of the information you can't until
Right.
it happens, but
Right.
some of them it has to be proven now.
That's a nice,
Yeah.
Yeah.
almost guarantee,
Yeah.
you know.
And usually, you shouldn't be explaining too much if you're the client. The intuitive or the medium should really be doing most of the talking. But it just depends, because sometimes I don't know what this symbol or memory means,
Right.
but they will.
You're just seeing things.
Yeah.
People are just telling you that it means something to them.
Yeah, like one session I kept hearing the song Yankee Doodle Dandy. Like, I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy. But I didn't know what that meant. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But the client was like, that's the song I would sing to my aunt for her birthday. I never sang her happy birthday. I would sing that song to her because her birthday was on 4th of July, and it was like, American celebration.
Yeah.
That's her birthday song.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Do you ever get
Oh, can I talk about the scammers real quick?
for sure?
Yeah.
For sure.
In
Let's
case
hear it.
anyone listens to this and wants to
Love talking about scammers.
know how to avoid the scammers. So there are gifted people who will scam you, and these people prey on the vulnerable. I hear this a lot with people who have been broken up with and want to get back with their ex-partner. And these people will claim that if you pay them X amount of money, they'll light a candle for you to get your partner back. And some of my clients, before I've met them, have been scammed out of like thousands of dollars. Because
out of desperation.
yeah, because that person is saying, oh, there's still a lot of dark energy around you and that person. I need not 20, but like $2,000 more. I'll chant and do whatever and light a candle and poke something through wax.
Interesting. So you're saying that just because someone is evidential or has proof that they can have this talent doesn't mean that they're inherently good or not going to try and take you for all your money.
Yeah.
So you still got to be careful, even if someone is doing it for real.
Anyone that can try and promise, like, yes, I can get you your ex
Yeah, they
back,
can't
or
make
yes,
something happen for you.
How do we know we don't have any like exes that have been lighting candles and trying to get us?
Even if they were, it's all BS, so they can't do anything. I mean, it won't work.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Just, you never know. You never know. I'm not saying.
But an ex can still be in your energy field. So if you're dreaming a lot about an ex, like it might be good to like ask your spirit team or do a meditation to just clear your energy.
How do you do that?
Wait, what is a spirit team?
So this is another belief system that I had. Again, that not everyone shares, but I believe that we have our family members on the other side that are part of our spirit team, and also like spirit guides. In like the very Hollywood sense, everyone will picture like a Native American spirit guide, right? Like, and someone takes peyote, and like that's who sends them on their journey. Right. But essentially, I believe a spirit guide is someone who is assigned to you at birth and helps you navigate your life if you're open to it. But again, not in the way where they're like, here's the lotto numbers, so you don't ever have to work a day in your life. But like, they'll navigate your life in a way that's like, here's this person that you're gonna meet. They're gonna be quite a difficult relationship for you, but you're gonna learn a lot from this. And I connect with my guides all the time. But again, it's a belief system. So got to be open to it to connect to it.
Interesting.
This was one of the more informational,
enlightening.
Enlightening.
Yeah.
And spiritual.
Maybe awakening.
Yeah.
Awakening. Yeah.
Well, your company is called The Awakenist, right? And when did you start that?
This was maybe 5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long after you found this talent did you start? Like,
I think it was like 2 years. Yeah, I was still kind of working in fashion after that incident happened, freelancing, and then I was taking these classes, and then I started practicing on friends and friends of friends, and one day a friend of a friend was like, "I want to pay you for this," and I was like, "What? You want to pay me for this?" And because I had predicted something about her and her boyfriend that came true, and then she gave me $10, and I was like, "Oh my god, I like earned money for reading someone. That's crazy."
That's literally a scene from Deuce Bigalow. Yeah. It's like, I was getting $10 for being a gigolo. That's hilarious.
And I bought
up your prices.
Yeah, I gotta up those prices.
Yeah.
I bought like a cocktail with it.
Let's go.
Yeah, which you can't buy a cocktail for $10.
No, not anymore. Not anymore. New York
Nice.
City, $55 for Red Bull.
So the Awakenist, And that's all your social media, right?
Yeah, social media and website.
Nice.
Yeah.
Man, this was just so cool. Like,
Yeah, I have so many more questions. It's very exciting.
Go for it. I mean,
Well, I mean, so can I be a medium if I wanted to learn how to do this? Do you think that everyone has this ability?
I think everyone has this ability and can open up to it as much as they would like to. I'm being very honest. Like, I also teach intuition classes, and people are so surprised at the information that they receive from like other students from their first like reading each other. It's just, you just have to like suspend your ideas of like, this isn't real, and you have to prove it to yourself pretty much. And I feel if you're open enough, you can prove it to yourself.
that actually brings up another really good question. So like, if anybody can learn how to do it, or like theoretically anybody, right? Then does practicing it a really long time make you better? Like say somebody who's been doing it for 30 years is like a expert medium and
interesting. I don't know exactly. I mean, I do feel like the more experience you have, naturally, the better you are at anything in life.
100%.
Yeah. So I would say yes.
Some people are probably more talented than others, and then some people it takes longer or quicker to get there. But
I think it's just one of those things where like anyone can learn how to paint an apple, but some painters,
some apples are gonna look
look
like bananas.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure.
So it just depends if you really feel drawn to this world. I think spirit will work with you to open yourself up.
So can you explain to me what an evil eye is? Because I always hear people talking about it, and I see them wearing it. I don't really know too much about that spirit kind of stuff, but
so I love talismans and like symbols of protection and abundance, etc. My main belief system around that is the wearer gives it as much power as they believe in it.
Okay.
So my evil eye could be like a symbol of a falcon for some reason, An evil eye is a talisman or symbol that's been used for centuries to ward off evil energy. I don't know the history around it too much.
It can be whatever you want it to be, theoretically.
So it just has as much power as you give it, but it's your brain and consciousness that's kind of giving that power, and
it's your belief system.
It's I believe it's a symbol that can channel your intention. So if your intention is like this ring is going to be used for protection, I do believe that you can give it that intention. And I mean, again, this isn't science yet, but that ring can give off an energy that will help block or create protection around you.
Cool.
Don't quote me on this because I forgot what the scientific.
It'll be off the record.
The scientific experiment is, but if you research, there is a scientific experiment where our attention on an atom will affect it.
100%. Yeah.
And so I just feel like spirituality and
like
energy,
an atom, like a molecule,
will
affect.
Just like, by the fact of observing
us observing it.
Right.
So
changes its state.
My belief system just takes that a bit further, where I'm not just observing it. Maybe I can channel it and put intention around it and create a reason behind it and send it off to the universe or
100%.
channel it in a different way. So yeah, let's just see what happens with science too.
100%.
As far as like our attention on molecules, what does that do? Can we move it? Can we affect it, etc.? And we have affected it.
Well, Per, this has not only been one of the more extraordinary conversations that we've had on the show,
100%.
but maybe like in general. I mean, I learned a lot, and I want to thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you guys for being so open. This has been lovely.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.